Welcome to Backstage with Becca B, with special guest Olivia Valli. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, you might have seen her on the second national tour of Wicked. She got cast in the Ensemble of Wicked shortly after graduating college and was also an understudy for Elphaba on the tour for almost 3 years. She also recently played her grandmother in an Off-Broadway production of Jersey Boys at New World Stages Theater. Please welcome Olivia Valli. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me on this.
Thank you for having me. Seriously.
Of course.
Part of it. Ooh, let's fix that real quick. Do I look okay?
Yeah.
You look gorgeous.
Yeah. How are you doing? I mean, I just started this like a couple weeks ago, so it's like I'm so honored people are believing in it and stuff.
I love that. I love that people are starting things like, through this really terrible time.
Yeah.
But how are you doing through this? This is quite a weird time.
It's very weird. A couple months it was a little difficult, but now I'm kind of getting into the swing. It's becoming normal. I'm home with family now. I was in Los Angeles for the first couple months, so.
I'm glad you're home. And because this is happening for such a long time, like we don't know when it's gonna stop, so it's good to just be with people.
Exactly. It's the best thing for me right now and probably for everyone.
Yeah, I'm home too, and I really couldn't get through this quarantine without them.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
It would drive me insane to be in my apartment alone right now.
God, I would lose my mind.
Yeah. Pretty much. I was losing my mind for like 2 months.
But now here we are.
Now everything's good. And I'm talking about theater again. And I love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm like, I found a way. It's fine.
I love it. It's so creative. And I love that we are all doing something during this time. You know what I mean?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do without like some aspect of theater in my life always.
Correct. Same.
Yeah. Well, anyways, speaking of that, Speaking of theater, my first question on my list is, have you always known that you wanted to have a career in theater? And if not, when did you first realize that you wanted to be on stage and perform?
I actually didn't know my entire life. I wanted to be a pop singer. And so I grew up listening to different pop artists. I literally only knew Wicked, Rent, and Hairspray, and that was it for musicals. So that's how I found that out. And then it wasn't until my junior year of high school when I was playing Mama Rose in Gypsy. I was sensibly 40 years way too young to play the role. That I said, I really love telling these stories to people who feel so passionately about this as well. And so for me, I knew that I wanted to do it at that moment. It was this very specific moment during Rose's turn. And I was just in the moment. I was just living my best life. And I raised my hands and the audience stood up and I started to get a standing ovation mid-song. And I was like, wow. And I just thought, wow, I can't believe that people get so invested in this and really feel this way. And it really transports them to something that we don't see people just casually doing. And so that's when I knew that I wanted to do it. And I love just getting ready in costume. And I like to work hard. I'm definitely a workhorse. And so for me, this was a great way to practice that outlet of working really hard. So that's how I got my bug for theater.
Wow. I mean, standing ovation, I mean, no question why you got that. No. Yeah. So,
Thank you. It was just cool to experience that for the first time, It was just really awesome.
Well, I'm glad you got that, so you got the bug kind of from that.
Yeah.
Did you do a lot of theater in your high school, or was that one of the only shows you did when you were in high school?
I actually did theater throughout my entire time in high school. I tried it in middle school and I literally couldn't have cared less for it. And I just felt like it was a little political, because it was. And I was really into sports. And then it wasn't until my freshman year that, like, because I played lacrosse and volleyball. So I was playing volleyball in the fall, and then we had the spring musical. So I auditioned, and I was the only freshman with a lead part, and I was Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast, which is another role that I played way too early. Because if I'm not going to be a Disney princess, like I'll be Meg or I'm going to be the villain, and I'm here for it. Yeah. But then we started to do plays as well. So we did Noises Off, where I was Dottie. We did a bunch of other plays that I don't remember. We did The King and I, which in an all-white school. Yeah. I was Lady Tiang, which is like an LOL moment, and like most kids in theater have that moment, but also like now looking back at it, it's like, all right.
Like, yikes.
We do that one. Yeah. Then we did Gypsy. And then my senior year, we did Wonderful Town, where I was the lead. I forget her name because I don't remember anything. I don't remember anything until I have to remember everything. And then,
exactly.
But I was the sister, not the pretty one. I was the one that I was Ruth. Ruth.
There you go.
Ruth in Wonderful Town, and that was cool because I actually had to dance, and that was wild. So I at my senior year of high school, I decided that I was going to give up sports and go into go into theater. And not because I had the bug, just because I didn't have enough time, and I started to not care about sports. So,
what was the first professional show you ever saw?
Stomp.
Okay, interesting.
I saw Stomp, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever because I didn't know you can make sounds out of newspapers.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. I'm such a musical nerd, and I love the innovation that Stomp had. And then my second show was Lion King, and that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Stomp was my first professional show, but then professional musical, Lion King. Unbelievable.
Wow. That's kind of interesting because I feel like a lot of people's first show is something like Wicked or something, you know?
Yeah.
Half the questions I have on this list.
I'm still here for it.
Yeah.
Mine was, I definitely had an unconventional approach to theater, but also Lion King's unbelievable. The things people do in those costumes is nuts. I loved it. I still love it. I saw it twice. I think it's one of the best musicals.
I think that was the first show I saw as a child, and I was
unbelievable. It's always sold out. I'm obsessed. Anyway.
My grandmother took me to it, and I was like, okay, I like it better.
This is correct.
I bet you were mind blown by Newsies then. Because of the dancing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was just how do these people dance and sing at the same time like this?
Working up to Wicked, how did you get the confidence throughout doing theater in high school and I'm assuming college and to audition for a show like Wicked?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really build up my real confidence until I booked Wicked. When I was in high school, I was oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do this. And then I applied to one school, which I don't recommend anybody ever doing, but it's expensive to audition for musical theater schools.
I can
you
imagine.
Pay for an audition fee, the hotel, the regular fee. It's just a lot. So I applied to Montclair State and I got in. I was one of 20. And at this point, I'd never had any professional singing, acting, or dancing lessons. So it was a miracle that I got in. And throughout college, I was working very, very, very hard because I knew I needed to make up for lost time. I knew that I could sing and I knew that I could act. dancing, strong mover, here for it. But then LOL Jersey Boys, all I did was dance. So people are like, you're a dancer now. I'm like, no,
Like,
please.
congrats.
Let me sing and act for you and tell a wonderful story and sing a nice song. But when I was in college, there was a lot of I'm trying to think of the polite way to say this. There was a lot of young kids trying to find their place in a highly competitive learning environment where teachers also emphasized the competitive nature of our business, but in a toxic way. And that wasn't for all of the professors, but that was for some. And so I'll never forget, we just got out of acting for The Singer, and I asked a friend of mine, hey, did I do an okay job during this scene? And he, at this point, thought he was the best of the best because he studied acting forever. And he said, I mean, yeah, you were fine. You just can't act to save your life. And I laughed it off, but went home and cried. And I said, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let anybody see me suffer. I will go in every single day and work my tail off. And that was kind of what I dealt with through college. It was, yeah, she can sing, but she can't act or dance, so good luck. And I instead didn't take any of it to heart. And this is kind of the first time I'm really talking about it. But I didn't take it to heart after that, because I said, you know what? Everyone's got an opinion. This is not a great learning environment sometimes. And I'm going to let my work speak for myself. And that's where, and I've always been the person to let my work speak for myself, especially because of who I'm related to. I want to be known as Olivia.
Yes.
I am Olivia. That's the first and only thing people should know. Who I'm related to is just a really cool coincidence.
Yes.
And I built that reputation quite quickly in the professional world, but also in college. People saw how hard I worked, and towards senior year, we had the option to not audition for the second semester shows, to focus on showcase. And me and my friend Fiona were the only two people who did not audition so that we could focus on showcase. Showcase came around, and I went from the girl who can't act and good luck trying to get a job to having 14 agent appointments through senior showcase. So
yes.
I still was super self-conscious, because you go to school for 4 years and everybody's telling you, including professors, that, good luck, you're not really going to be much. I had one professor really believe in me, and he cast me as Trina in falsettos my junior year. And another role that I'm way too old to play. There's a theme. But for me, it was, he really helped me believe in myself enough to the point where I could go to a showcase in front of New York's top agencies, casting directors, and music directors and say, this is who I am. And I signed with my agency. And while I was signing with my agency, I got an audition for Wicked through them. And I said, they're looking for an understudy. Do you think you want to go in? And I said, absolutely. So I went in, and they loved me, but they didn't think I was ready. So a year later, I haven't booked a professional job. And so my confidence was really low. Everybody was booking summer stocks. One of my friends booked the Book of Mormon national tour. And I really was like, wow, I guess everyone was right. Why did I sign with an agency if I'm just going to be the girl that doesn't work? And it really took a hit on me. And then I finally got and I was getting callbacks. I was in final callbacks. I just wasn't right for things, or I don't know. They didn't think like I fit in the show. And I was like, then why'd you call me in? But casting only finds that out until after they see people. So it was a year later, and I'm in a wedding band, and I had already done a 54 Below concert, which sold out. And then I was getting ready to do another 54 Below show. And I get the call to audition, and all of a sudden I'm getting called back and called back and called back and called back. And I'm at my fifth callback, it is with Emily Schulteis, who and so it's just her and I in finals, and we're dancing with one of the associate choreographers, head choreographers. I don't know her title anymore. She does a lot for the company though. Yeah. But so I go and audition, and I do get my final callback, and I'm walking out with Emily, and we both go, how cool would it be to be cast in the same show at the same time? So I'm walking to 54 Below. Oh, hello, fire truck. And I get the call that I've booked Wicked. And Emily messages me and goes, I've booked Wicked too. She got cast as a standby. And I was like, this is the coolest day ever. And so my concert's sold out, and I have to tell my boss, who's my saxophone player for that show, that I have to quit his band because I booked Wicked. But it wasn't until I got into Wicked and started rehearsing for Elphaba specifically that I went, wow, I really can do this. And all the people who doubted me in college still talked all their ish, still talked it, but I didn't care, because the proof was on the pudding that I worked hard. And I did what I needed to do, and I will continue to work hard. And now most of their opinions have changed, which, you know, we've also grown as people. So, you know, that we've all, in theory, have grown out of that competitive college mentality. Yeah. So it really wasn't until I was in Wicked that I built the confidence that I have now. But it was hard, and, you know, it's not an overnight thing. And I think for anybody who's auditioning for a big show, just know that they called you in, so they want you to be good. They want you to succeed, and you have to trust yourself and your talent enough to say, I can do this, and this will take me where I need to go. Whether it's this audition or the next audition or the same audition a year from now. Yeah.
And it's like an automatic mindset thing that people are against you when they're really not.
Yeah. Like they're all sitting there and they're like, just, yes, we want you to be good. Nobody wants to see an auditioner bomb. Like that's like the worst thing ever. So, you know, I think, and if you're auditioning for someone that wants to see you fail, run out of that audition room. Nobody I don't want to work for somebody like that. It's terrible.
So you were pretty young when you got cast in Wicked, because it was right out of college, right?
Yeah, I was 22.
And have you been one of the youngest Elphabas, I feel like?
I think I might be one of the youngest understudies, one of the younger women to have played Elphaba. I know that Emma Hunton played her when she was 18. Oh. So I'm like in that realm of like being super young and being cast in the show as an Elphaba cover, whatever, yeah.
And you also had to learn like the dancing and stuff because you were in the ensemble.
Yes.
So was that hard, easy? How long did it take you to pick that up in rehearsals?
For me to pick up, because my ensemble track is like difficult in some ways, but not so difficult in other ways. Mine was a lot of like memorizing traffic, because I would do a lot of like weaving in and out of people because I wasn't like dancing super hard. But my track vocally was also difficult. But I picked up my ensemble track within a week of rehearsing. I like literally, I remember like I learned my entire track in like 3 or 4 days, and then we just spent the rest of the week solidifying it. And then we worked on Elphaba. And I have a really weird brain where like I don't remember characters of shows I played in college, but like I remember everything in my ensemble track and in my Elphaba track. And so it took me about a month to really nail both. Like, and it really was put to the test for me when I had my debut weekend. So we had a 9-show week, and I was in my ensemble track for the whole week. And then Saturday morning I was Elphaba. At night I was in the ensemble. Sunday morning I was Elphaba. Sunday night I was in the ensemble, and then Monday night I was in the ensemble. And doing that switch seamlessly took work, but it was nice to know that I could adjust very quickly to it. So it really didn't take a lot of time for me. It really did take a month for me to have it in my body as second nature.
And who did you go on for when you were on as Elphaba at first? And what was your reaction when you got the call, or when you got like the message that you were going to be on as Elphaba for that show?
Who did I go on for?
Yeah.
Oh, Jessica Vosk was our Elphaba at that time. Queen. I love her. I adore her. So I found out, and I knew like a couple of days in advance, but not like long. Like this wasn't like a, okay, get ready. Like it was like a, hey, there's a possibility, just have your friends and family know. And people came, and I got to tell them like a day in advance, and it was really cool. And then I got to tell my friends another day in advance. And so, but I was terrified at first because I waited a year to debut. Emily Schulteis is a powerhouse. She was a powerhouse standby. She never called out. She was amazing.
Wow.
And so she finally did call out, and it was finally a weekend where I got to go on. And the first show I was nervous, but not because I was underprepared, just because I didn't know what it would be like to do the full show with a full company also doing their show.
Yeah.
But everything went really smoothly, thankfully. I got some notes about some personal things. And then the next show, I just felt ready. And every time I went on after that, I was like, okay, let's go. Let's do this. I'm ready to do this. And so it really taught me a fight or flight instinct. And it was definitely fight. A lot of that.
But then you fly.
Yeah, and then I fly.
It's insane.
It's insanity.
Yeah. At the end of, yeah. Is that scary, by the way?
I had to do a pre-flight rehearsal right before my put-in, and that was the first time I flew, and that was terrifying. And then after that, like, it is literally the coolest feeling in the world. I cannot describe it, but it is so empowering to like be singing these big notes while ascending and then like landing, and like you're like, I'm in the air, this is nuts, and you have to like belt 14 feet in the air. It's wild, but it's honestly the thing I looked forward to. One of the things I looked forward to the most in the show. That No Good Deed and Honestly I'm Not That Girl is one of my favorite songs to sing. So that was a song I really looked forward to singing as well.
I'm Not That Girl is so underrated.
It is. People are like, oh, and I'm like, no, this is huge. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they're like, just because it's not like a belting song or like the powerhouse vocal song, I feel like people are
it's
like,
a different look into Elphaba's psyche, and it looks past her defense mechanisms. It looks at who she really is as a factual approach, which is heartbreaking. Like, she knows, like, who's gonna like me? Who's really gonna like me?
Yeah. It's like the beginning of the love triangle.
Yeah, like, seriously. Yeah.
And her friendship going haywire with Glinda.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How do you make a character like Elphaba your own? Because it's a role that so many people have played before. And like,
yeah. It's hard. At first it's hard because when you cover Elphaba, when you're the standby for Elphaba, or when you are Elphaba, you are directed within an inch of your life to do every single thing because it's been running for so long. Yeah. It wasn't until like 6 months into my rehearsal that I was like, I'm tired of trying to be like everybody else. I said, there is so much of me that resonates with Elphaba. So why don't I just put me into Elphaba and how Olivia would react? And if my directors don't like it, I'm just going to get some direction to change it and just take a different approach to still how I would react, but through the voice and the body of Elphaba. And that was really when it clicked that I just needed to trust myself in my storytelling and how I resonate with Elphaba, because she is her and Glinda, like, there is an Elphaba that lives inside all of us, male or female, and we all feel misunderstood, and we all feel like we are not wanted, and we all at one point. And so I just said, she's such a universal character that why can't I take this big grand thing and put it back into myself and trust that what I have, the way I want to tell Elphaba is going to be good enough because I resonate with her. So it took a lot of trusting myself and just being bold and saying, like, I'm just going to go for it. And this is going to be really wrong, and they might really hate it. But all the times I thought it was going to be really wrong and that they were going to hate it, my bosses loved it the most.
it's like the times when you judge yourself the most is the times when, everyone
when
loves you and you're like,
strikes.
Yeah. And you performers are tough on yourself. So.
Oh, all the time. I'm my worst critic, and everybody says it, but my God, I'm rough. I'm rough on myself. It's not right.
There's so many people. I'm like the voice of like, no, you're amazing in LA theater, because people are just ridiculously hard on themselves. And I'm like, no, I could never sing like you. And speaking of that, how do you work on like breath control and stuff for a role like Elphaba? Because
a lot of training.
Yeah.
A lot of training. I give a lot of that training to college, to my voice teacher, Ken Magos, who I still study with, to the music directors who I worked with, Dan Mitchkay and Adam Souza. They, while I was on the road, both of them really made sure that I was breathing into the right spots, that I was being able to sustain it. But a lot of it had to do with what I naturally could do, and then with their magic. Because, like, you know, my voice teacher is unbelievable. Dan Mitchkay is unbelievable. Adam Souza is unbelievable. And so I was so lucky to be with mentors who really knew what I could do specifically and have the knowledge to say, okay, this is what's going to work for her and this is what's not going to work. A lot of it is a lot of trial and error. A lot of trial and error. And thankfully I had a year, but then even after the year and after I debuted, I still worked really hard. My first show sounds completely different from my last show going on as Elphaba. And my last show going on as Elphaba sounds completely different to me now singing it. So I think for me, it is always a work in progress to sing it at a place where I can have it the most comfortable for me. And now I can sing Defying Gravity literally 10 times in a row and not be tired. But that took 3 years, 3.5 years, 4 years of work. That's not something that, you know, a lot of people can magically just have.
Well, it's something a lot of people can put on their resume. Can sing Defying Gravity 10 times in a row.
Right. And, you know, it's hard. It's a hard sing. And there are days when I still can't do all 10, but I do it because my voice teacher and I get very nitpicky and we want everything to be calculated. That's the thing, too. Yeah. When you sing big roles, not just Elphaba, it has to be calculated to a T. You can't just do it. You have to know where your breath is going, where your placement is going, so you can properly sing to a point where you can do a show 8 times a week.
What's the best thing about being green and the worst thing about being green?
Best thing about being green is the prep before and wearing the costumes. Literally the most fun ever. The worst part is trying not to sweat off all the green.
Have you ever gotten green on the Fiero during As Long As You're Mine?
Yes, absolutely. Right,
I noticed. Oh my God. I noticed that during one show and I was like, John is licking his lips.
Yep. It's so hard. It is so hard, especially when it's humid out. There's like quite literally nothing you can do.
And someone's like
sweating on you, sorry, and it's green. I'm so sorry again. I'm sorry.
Like, whoops. Yeah. My bad. I'm sure that happens all the time though. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
When you go back to Wicked, if you could pick your Glinda, who would you choose to be your Glinda?
Oh God, that's the worst question ever. I love all of them. Oh God.
You can choose like 3 people. That's fine.
Okay, Jillian Butler for sure.
I saw this Cosette.
Come on, she's amazing. God, we had our put in together as Elphaba and Glinda, so we had the same put in, and she's the best. I adore her. Cara Lindsay, because that was, oh God, she's amazing. Yes. I loved going on with Gina Claire. And then who else would I pick? Amanda Jane Cooper. I always wanted to go on with her.
She's precious.
She's amazing.
I never got to see her as Glinda, but I would love to.
She's unbelievable. Oh God, she's unbelievable. I love her so much. Oh, and one more, Brittany Johnson. I would love to go on with Brittany Johnson, Queen Brittany.
Yes. Oh my gosh, need to see that. she was supposed to go on a lot before this whole thing happened, I think.
God. Well, she'll be on again when this all opens up. Who knows when?
It was like so many people I wanted to go on for a part were about to go on, then quarantine started and Broadway shut down. And I was like, oh, okay. Eventually.
These days.
One of these days. What was your favorite part about being on tour? What would you do on like your day off? And what was your favorite city?
Oh man, I have so many favorite cities, to be honest. But I'll give you like a top 10. I'll try to give 10. And these are not in order. New Orleans, Boston, Chicago, Toronto, LA, San Diego. Sorry, I have to think. I really liked Albuquerque, New Mexico, because I love mountains and I love like just like the weirdness of it, but not like because it's weird. It's just like there's like Area 59 and like there's aliens, and I went to this really cool interactive art museum called Meow Wolf, and Georgia O'Keeffe, who's my favorite painter, she has her museum there. So that's 7. Oh my God. Fort Lauderdale was wonderful. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Blah, 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 blah. So that's 8. That's definitely 8. I had to make sure. Ooh, yes. Sometimes math is hard.
It is.
I think 2 other favorite cities that were I really liked Michigan. Michigan was fun. It's a cute state. And then I think I really liked Orlando, but I think that's because we were really close to Disney and Universal. I also think that my favorite part of tour was trying all the different foods. I love food so much. I love food. And so I loved like going out to eat with my friends, and I loved doing things like going to the 14,000 feet above sea level and hiking in the mountains and going to museums that I've literally wanted to go to since my childhood. Like the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum, it was a bucket list thing of mine since I was 6 years old. I loved being able to go to Disney World and Universal and and like Disneyland and Universal in LA, and being able to have the privilege and the opportunity to even compare the two. I loved being able to, I loved DC. That was a fun one too. Oh my God. I loved being able to play at the Kennedy Center in front of the president's box when Obama was still in office. He didn't go. It was terrible. I wanted him to be there so bad. But to even have New Year's at the Kennedy Center and Christmas and have my family be able to fly out and experience the holidays with them in different locations. I loved being able to do things that people dream of doing. Yeah. And being able to share my experience of that with them and watching like the glow in their eyes, like, oh, this is not just what I imagined, it's real and people really enjoy it. And then trying all the foods, definitely all the foods.
Oh, my first time seeing Wicked was actually in Los Angeles in 2018. If you can imagine.
No, so, it's okay. Listen, these things happen. Not everyone's got it like that to spend tickets on Wicked, okay?
But I'm so grateful that it was, because that cast, listen, was the best cast imaginable.
Unbelievable. Like, Jackie Burke and Kara Lindsay, 2020, please. Like,
but all of you as like
that was such a special cast. And honestly, every single cast that I did the show with was so special. And it really is a family. We are really all that we have. And, you know, we're families, we fight and things happen, but we always come back to each other and love each other. So, but that LA cast was so cool. It was so great.
And I think I saw your last Elphaba performance too.
Yes, you did.
So I was like, oh my God, she's so good. What the heck?
Thank you. That was me going, I'm doing whatever and I'm doing literally anything I want. Like,
you killed it. And I remember sitting around people and like watching everyone else's reaction after Defying Gravity. People were like stunned.
It was like, it felt like the fruits of my labor finally like being shown off. Like I worked so hard to get that specific show to where it needed to be. And it just felt like the perfect landing point for me at that time. And whenever I get back into the show, hopefully one day, I can't wait to show the fruits of my labor even more. Like, and have that be the jump off point and then see where the landing point is. Like, it's just so cool. I'm a big fan of growth, and I'm a big fan of always working and celebrating your hard work, because I don't think we as people celebrate ourselves enough. I think it's easy for other people to shame and judge each other for doing that, but that's a reflection on them, not us. We deserve to talk about our hard work and also acknowledge that we are a work in progress as well.
It's easy for us to go on Instagram and Twitter and compare ourselves to others, and
it's hard. And yeah, that's the thing, like social media, this generation, like, you know, and I sound so old for saying that, but like it even when I was younger and Instagram first came out, God, I'm only 27 and I sound like I'm 38. Oh, I'm aging myself so hard. It was still like, it was like the first time I really felt that comparison game, like everyone taking pictures down the shore, and like I was kind of that weird kid, so I didn't really do that. And feeling left out. And unfortunately, social media can be super helpful, but it also can be a huge crutch. And so to anybody watching who struggles with social media comparisons, remember that people are really only showing their highlights. People are using it mainly as a business model. So like if you see them like talking about their business a lot, like good, celebrate that. But then we also, you know, acknowledge the fact that there's a lot to us that is not shown through Instagram. And I know that I only show my highlights, but I also deal with a lot, and we all do. So, you know, I think that it is easy to get lost in the comparison game, but just know that everyone's journey is different and valid and unique to their own.
Yes. And before I change the subject from Wicked, I feel like I have to ask, who was the first Elphaba and Glinda pair that you ever saw?
Katie Rose Clark and Teal Wicks. I was in high school, and I swear to you, I still have my playbill. Hold on.
Yes, what a combo.
I have it. It's my Wicked playbill. I saw Wicked my junior, senior year of high school. May 2011, my senior year. I went with a boy who cheated on me for 6 months. Oh, it's fine. He gave me paper plates for my birthday. It was hilarious. I mean, and he's in high school. Like, he didn't know what he was doing. Like, I just had to laugh. It's all good now. He actually came to see me in Jersey Boys. So we're cool. So I saw Teal Wicks as Elphaba, Katie Rose Clark as Glinda, Kathy Fitzgerald as Madame Morrible, Tom McGowan, who I worked with as the wizard, and he was the wizard when I worked with him, Richard H. Blake, and Jenny Denoya was the Elphaba standby at that time, and Stephanie Torrens was the understudy. Yeah.
And Jenny is still with the show.
Yeah, she's a badass. Oh, here's a Jersey Boys thing.
Hey!
Hilarious. So that's
like,
who I saw.
The Jersey Boys and Wicked.
When I was younger, there was this very specific picture painted of Times Square, and it's Jersey Boys and Wicked next to each other. And my mom was like, "That's gonna be you," and I was like, "No." And then Jersey Boys closed, and I was like, "Told you." And then Jersey Boys happened, and she was like, "I told you."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Speaking of Jersey Boys, I read that you auditioned for a while for that, yes?
Yeah, I auditioned for 6 years when I was in, I auditioned through college for Francine on Broadway, and Sarah Schmidt, who was the OBC Francine, also closed the show, which I thought was so cool. Get your money, live your life. And I, but then the show closed, and then I auditioned for Francine again, but also for the dance captain, and big LOL. If we remember, I am a strong mover, and that dancing is very hard. And then it wasn't until I left Wicked and 2 months later got a call to audition for Mary. And this was for the Off-Broadway production, which I would like to clarify. Off-Broadway is not a remark on the production value. It is quite literally a difference in seat size. So a Broadway house has to have 500 seats or more to be considered a Broadway house, and Jersey Boys had 499. So it's still the same production quality, still the same amount of immense talent that pours out of these actors who I had the pleasure to work with. It is just a difference in seat size.
It's a little more intimate.
Yeah. And then so I had a 4-hour callback process and then finally booked it.
Wow.
6 years later.
So what was your reaction like when you booked it? Because you booked the part of your grandmother, basically. Someone you related to. Yeah.
Yeah, she's literally my grandma. Like, we shared a room together. Like, actually, it's actually my grandma.
Yeah.
And I cried. It felt like it was like a finally, and I was also in disbelief, but I'd also booked a regional theater gig. So I was like, well, I guess I can't do that. That one was my first audition back from Wicked, and I booked it. And I was like, oh, cool. Awesome. And then Jersey Boys happened, and I called my agent. Well, my agent called me, and they were like, so I guess you're not going to take this regional theater gig because you booked Jersey Boys. And I was like, oh my God. But I cried, and my mom cried, and I called my grandpa, and he cried. And it just felt like, and even when I joined, like, because I know all the creatives, like, I grew up with these people. Like, I saw them, and they saw me when I was in middle school for the opening of Jersey Boys. Like, they've watched me grow up. And still I had to work my tail off to even get an audition and then get the part. I would like to note that too.
Yes.
But everybody was like, well, it's about time you're here. And I was like, oh my God. So it was cool because it felt like, for me, I got to know Jersey Boys in a whole different perspective. I knew it from my family, and I knew it from being an audience member, but then I got to know it through being a company member, and it was just so special and so wonderful to be a part of.
So how did you go about playing someone you're related to? Did you put pressure on yourself to like play it in any certain way, or did you just kind of, I don't know, do it, like make the role like who you knew as you were growing up?
For me, I did not feel pressure because I knew that I would know my Nana better than anybody trying to tell me what to do. That, though, does not mean that I didn't listen to direction. If anything, I was like, this is how I'm going to play it. And they said, this is a very different take on it, and we love it because it is so different and so accurate. But here are some things that we would like you to hit while doing that. And it was such a collaborative process and a respectful process on both ends. You know, even though this is a show about my family, I am a company member. I am under contract. I know that I need to maintain a level of professionalism, even more so because I am doing a show that represents my family. So word gets around quickly about how people act. And so I said to myself, I'm just going to play my Nana the way I know her. And it's easy to play Mary as a villain. How she is set up can very easily be played as a villain. And she wasn't. She was a woman that loved my grandpa dearly and was heartbroken when they broke up. And they were in the 50s. They didn't go to therapy. They yelled at each other. But I really wanted to make it a point to have the audience understand my Nana's vulnerability and her sensitivity, and that her leaving my grandpa was the very last thing she wanted to do, but it was the final straw and she had to do it. And so I felt very comfortable playing my Nana the way I knew her, and have it be so wonderfully received from our creative team and then through the audience too. So it felt really, I felt good. I didn't feel scared or nervous. I just felt ready. I felt ready to work. I felt ready to tell this story. And I just felt so much pride to finally represent my family and honor them in a way that not many people can. I mean, I'm the first actor in theater history to play a direct relative of somebody in a show.
Yes.
Not like loosely based either, like actual and factual name, address, location, like everything that was happening was a direct, basically biopic in a sense. So it was really cool. It was really, really, really cool.
And now your name is in history. So
yeah,
for Jersey Boys, an iconic show.
Yeah, truly iconic. I'm lucky to, somebody made the point to me that I have been in 2 iconic shows and have done so much before the age of 26, because I just turned 27. And so that felt really cool, because once again, it's nice to know that my hard work is being recognized, but also that there is so much work to do. And I love working, so I can't wait to like keep diving into that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Speaking of that, well, actually, before I get to this question, what's your favorite song by Four Seasons?
Oh, Native New Yorker. It's not in the show, but it's my favorite. It's my favorite show. And then I think my favorite show in the show, if that's your next question, I'm so sorry that I ruined it.
No, answer it. I'm good.
My favorite song to perform was the finale. We all sing "Who Loves You." That was the coolest part ever.
And I'm sure you heard all these songs like constantly, like growing up, yeah?
Oh yeah, I always went to see my grandpa perform, and we would always sing together. Like he'll still sing to me on the phone. Like he was singing me a Tony Bennett song like 2 weeks ago. Like, and he's 85 and like still has it. He's the coolest.
Just like, just sing to me always.
Yeah, I'm like, this is awesome.
It's like me with all of you who play Elphaba. I'm like, oh my God, please just like keep singing.
Yes.
My next question was, what's your dream role on Broadway right now?
My favorite is, my dream role, I would love to play Janice in Mean Girls.
Oh.
Love to play Janice. I would love to be Elphaba on Broadway. I would like to be Feinstein in Les Mis if they ever brought it back. I love those 80s musicals. God, they're so good. And then I'd like to play Lucy in Jekyll and Hyde.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Feinstein is interesting because I feel like it can be like a crossover role with people who have the Elphaba voice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like not everyone realizes that. And I'm like, yes, people who play Elphaba should play Feinstein.
Exactly. And it's just so well done. I love that part. I love her. I love that show. A lot of people, I hear that you're either a Phantom or a Les Mis fan, and I'm definitely a Les Mis fan.
Yeah.
Like, totally.
I saw the movie like 26 times when it was in theaters because I had just seen the O2 version the previous year, so I was obsessed.
Yes, so good. So good.
I was absolutely obsessed. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Ooh. Do not let the opinions of others define you or your talent. Only you can do that.
Yes.
And that would be the advice I would give.
It sounds like you had like a very high school experience in college. Very. Yeah. Very. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. And here's the thing too, like I don't have any ill feelings. Like I really do speak factually about it. All of these people I still talk to, and we were all young and insecure and dumb. We were all dumb, and we all laughed about it. Like, even when we were seniors, like, that guy who said that to me, he apologized to me. So, you know, and not everybody's going to apologize to me who made up rumors that, like, I got in because of my grandpa. Like, my grandpa has not given me a cent of his money. I hate to break it to everybody. He's my grandpa, not my meal ticket. But, you know, those people, a lot of people didn't apologize to me, but their actions showed me otherwise. And we all have to allow, like, that was like 8 years ago. Like, if somebody hasn't changed in 8 years, I think that's a little ridiculous. People change, people grow up, people find their own paths, and we were all insecure, and we were all trying to find our way and define ourselves. So, you know, it wasn't the best situation, and I know that I certainly have said some not nice things because I was in that environment, and it was the environment we were in, which I apologized for and, you know, took accountability for. You know, I'm also not this patron saint. Like, I'm a person who was a young girl trying to find her place
in a competitive industry.
Very. And now I have the wisdom to know that that is not how you do things, and I haven't conducted myself like that. So, you know, we learn. That's how we learn. And it's not great to admit that, like, I was not a nice person, but I'm also human.
Sure.
You know, we all do not nice things. So anyone who says otherwise is a liar.
Yeah. And lying is also bad.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what advice would you have to someone auditioning for theater?
Ooh. Trust yourself. Do not give them what you think they want. Give them what you want. Just do whatever feels right for yourself in that moment, because that will read as the most authentic and the most compelling storytelling.
And what do you think live theater will be like when it does come back, when it's able to come back safely? Deep question.
Well, in theory, I really hope that we see equitable change for our BIPOC community. And we create spaces and tables. We smashed the old tables and we've created new tables that allow BIPOC members, BIPOC members, I still get confused with the wording, so I'm very sorry if I get it wrong. We create space so that there is equitability for everybody, and we have new Black writers, we have new sorry, it's very deep. We have producers and people behind the table that allow the BIPOC community to feel safe to perform as they are without backlash. I hope that all the people who have spoken out feel safe and comfortable getting back into theater and not have their safety, their jobs, or anything about them personally be threatened. But then I think that there will be a deeper appreciation for theater. I think that there will be more new works and maybe not as many movie musicals, which I love and they serve a purpose, but I really want to see original works. I think it's time we see that. I think that there will be new theaters, new playwrights, new everything, but I also think that there might be a lot of uncertainty with people who are currently employed, because a lot of people might leave this industry because we don't know when it's going to come back. Yeah. And so I think that overall there will be, in my opinion, and hopefully what I hope to see, is just more love going around, and that, like, we're all on an equal playing field right now and we're all struggling right now. And so we take our humble selves and we've removed our ego enough to come together and allow a stronger community, a really, really strong community that fights for each other and creates space for each other. That's what I hope.
I hope so too. Do you think that virtual theater will stick around for a while and like the Broadway HD vault will continue to grow?
I think the Broadway HG vault will continue to grow, but I think the second we can have real theater, virtual theater will be no more. Yeah. I mean, listen, I love a boot. I love the Broadway HD. I think the bootleg conversation like is like the least of our problems. The least of our problems. There are literally people dying, and not everybody can afford theater. Not everyone can go to a theater. Not everybody has the funds to even book a hotel, to then book in the restaurant, and then book the flight, and then book a $600 ticket. Like, yeah. So yes, of course. Is it illegal? Yes, but it is illegal, but we've created a system that has become outdated. If every single show had a Broadway HD file that you could purchase for $5, this wouldn't be a problem. And like bootlegs don't make people not want to go see shows. Like I've seen bootlegs, okay? And I was like, wow, I can't wait to see this in person. And then the next week I went. So I'm not sure where that conversation is coming from. But I also understand that, like, yes, it's illegal and blah, 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 but it's the system itself that is the problem. And bootlegging is just the branch of that system. And the real problem is accessibility and affordability. Yes. So that's what I also hope changes. I hope that theater is more accessible and more affordable, because I don't want to spend $300 for a ticket. And that's when I was making money. Like, I still don't want to.
Yeah. That's why the lottery system and the rush system is so great. But for the rush system, you have to wake up at like, who knows what time for certain shows.
And you get like sometimes not so great seats. And it's like, you're there. Why can't you get the same accessibility as somebody else?
Yeah.
You know,
as somebody who can afford.
I know that whole conversation is very layered, and I'm aware of that. But if we're speaking from the side of accessibility, not everybody has that accessibility. So I hope that that is the real root of the problem that changes.
Yes, I want to be able to take more of my friends to theater who are like, no, I can't afford to go this weekend. Or
I was going to go see Six, and then I couldn't, obviously, because of Rona, but then also because it was expensive.
I feel like you went in one of my dream casts for Six, but
please. I would love to be in Six too, so please.
I have like 3 different dream casts for Six. One is an LA cast, then one is a like future Broadway cast. So
I love your mind.
Yeah. I mean, I'm brainstorming all the time.
Correct.
Lastly, have you been working on anything in quarantine, whether it's singing or any like craft that you'd want to talk about or promote?
I created a podcast with my best friend called What's Your Backup Plan? And we interview artists. So that is not just actors, that is any creative folk, about how they are dealing with COVID and how they are staying inspired and creative while our industry is shut down, and that what we do doesn't require a backup plan. Because I hate that question. So what's your backup plan? Or like, so what's next? And like, listen, I know that's all well-intentioned. I totally get it. I'm not mad at the person. And I'm not mad at anybody who's ever said it, because that's ridiculous. But it's a challenge to that question. So what's your backup plan when this doesn't work out? Not everybody wants to be a Broadway star. Some people just want to perform. So we ask people what they do during this time to stay inspired. I have been recording a lot of covers, but I've also I have been recording professionally, and in theory, in a couple of months, I will have a song coming out with a very well-known artist, which is very cool. That's all very loose plans, but that's in theory what's happening. I wrote a song last year that my brother produced, and it will be a track of his. So I think that's coming out in the fall. But I'm really just working on covers and taking classes and just trying to stay really creative and inspired. And those are the words I use all the time for the podcast I do with my best friend, Fiona McIntyre. But it's true. Like, it's so hard to feel excited about anything right now. And so we created this, one, to keep us excited for something, but two, also give hope to everybody else who needs it right now.
A lot of people do need it.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to our podcast, we have a lot of episodes and we're dropping a lot of episodes soon. We have a really big announcement coming up. You can follow us at What's Your Backup Plan on Instagram, and we are on all streaming platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anything you need, we are there.
I love that. I'm gonna have to listen to that after this.
You'll really like it. I hope you really like it.
Oh, I will. And I'm excited that you have a song possibly coming out soon.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So to get more info on that, where can people follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Olivia F. Valli on Instagram. You can follow me at Olivia Valli on Twitter. And then, yeah, that's kind of it. I try to keep people more up to date on my Instagram. So that's the best place to follow me. On Twitter, I'm just an idiot. So
as all of us are. I like live stuff, and I'm like, oh, people definitely want to know this about my life right now.
I'm like, I talked about a cake I was making. I was like, no one cares, but I care. It's my Twitter, so I don't know what to tell you all.
Yeah. I'm like, people want to know how cute my dog is 24/7 on Twitter and Instagram. So
right. We love dogs.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple Instagram questions real quick because I'm making teasers for Instagram. But thanks for talking to me on this again.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.